Welcome to the Thoughtful Leader podcast. My name is Ben Brearley. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Thoughtful Leader. The Thoughtful Leader podcast is all about short, sharp leadership advice because thoughtful leadership is good leadership.
Welcome to episode 308 of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about 4 things to remember to support your people better. And one of them in particular, maybe not what you're expecting. So let's get into this right now. All right, so one of your responsibilities as a thoughtful leader particularly is to support the people in your team so they can do good work, improve and, deliver the work that you need them to deliver and work positively with their teammates as well. So in this episode, we're going to talk about that topic. Because being able to support your employees is one of your main responsibilities as a thoughtful leader. And it's important because your team members are the people who are really going to get the work done. Your role is important, but if you don't support them, you're sort of on your own. And so in this episode, I'm looking at 4 things to keep in mind to better support your people. And I'll also talk about some of the challenges you might face along the way, being one of these thoughtful types that listens to this podcast. So firstly, what does it mean to support your people? Well, we've all seen the leaders that go out of their way to do anything for their employees. They bend over backwards. Sometimes they even do the work for them. They're always stepping in to help. And that's all well and good, but I have a different view of supporting employees. Supporting means helping your people succeed, but it also means helping them to support themselves. Otherwise, you simply become the crutch that everyone leans on. And for me, supporting means giving help when it's needed and helping people develop and grow at the same time. Now, the other extreme would be failing to support your team at all. And as a thoughtful leader, I don't think that's very likely. So we'll move on to some of the key ingredients for supporting your employees. And there's a related article I'd recommend you check out as well. If you think you're more of a people pleaser, you can read the article, How to Lead Effectively as a People Pleaser. I'll put that in the show notes page, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/308. So the first thing I'd suggest is supporting your people by getting to know them individually. Now, one somewhat frustrating part of leadership is that you can't treat everybody the same way. If you could have a one-size-fits-all approach, it would be a lot easier. The reality is, though, people are complex, unique beings with lots of different factors influencing them at any given time. So you'll need to tailor your approach to how you lead them. Now, this does not mean you need to be a different person at work and change your personality. It simply means adapting your approach to different aspects of your employees. So what are some of these aspects you should pay attention to? Well, to start with, I think it's useful to understand what makes them tick, including what they believe, what they value, and what motivates them. Now, these are not easy things to understand about people because people are quite complex. So there's a few tools I like to use as a starting point, and I've mentioned some of them before, but it's good to have a recap. Well, firstly, I like Gallup's StrengthsFinder assessment, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes page as well. It's reasonably priced and provides some excellent information to help you understand your people and for them to understand themselves, of course. Then I like to use a motivational assessment called PRINT, which helps you to understand people's unconscious motivators. And this one needs a consultant like myself to help you do it, and it costs money. But if you want a free option, you can also try 16personalities.com, which is the website that I'll put a link to in the show notes as well. And you must note that none of these tools will perfectly describe a person, and they should only be used as a starting point for discussion and to help your people reflect and gain insights. Because I'm not a big fan of just putting people in boxes and say, oh, this report is how your personality is, because it's not really the full story. So what about motivation? Well, I always find it helpful to understand a few motivation theories and models so I can try out different things with people to see what might work. And you can read about some useful motivation factors in an article on my website, which is called Make the Most of Motivation Models in Your Team. So rather than talk about them here, I will put them in that article, which is a link on the show notes page, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/308. So I recommend checking that out. And that post also talks about how to use them to adapt your approach and to see how people respond as well. So it's a useful one, I think. So we also want to listen and learn to support our employees. So it's easy to get stuck on tools and models and go down deep rabbit holes. And sometimes people do a lot of research and they keep researching all the time to find that perfect tool that's going to help them. But often a simple approach works well, and that is to talk to your team members and listen to them. You listen to what they want, what they like, what they don't like, talk about the weekend and what they do outside of work, and you share information about your own life as well, which can help to build a more personal connection, and then respond to what you hear and see how you can help them. So why do these individual differences help? Well, over time, you'll gain a sense of how your team members operate, and this means things like their communication style. So are they reserved or outgoing? Do they work better with lots of detail or just high-level information? Do they prefer to work mainly alone, or are they more of a team person? Also, feedback. How do your people respond to feedback? Do they prefer direct comments or a softer approach? Think about the way their schedule works. Do your team members require flexibility in their work time and location, or are they happy with a regular routine? And lastly, think about motivation. What drives your people? Is it to help others to achieve goals, or are there some other important factors here? And obviously, there's lots of different aspects we can include in addition to these ones I've just mentioned. But the important thing is to use your knowledge of your team to try and support them in a way that suits their style and personality. Now, the second thing to do to support your people is to be available. So far, we've talked about some of the differences you might look and listen for with your people, but all of this is pointless if you're not available when people need your support. And this is where you need to look inward and work on yourself. So if you're in back-to-back meetings all day, or never at your desk or available to respond to messages, then you'll struggle to provide the support your people need. Many thoughtful leaders have people-pleasing tendencies, which means they might struggle to say no and push back on meetings or other requests that take up their time. So the question I have for you is, are you as available as you would like to be? You can also ask yourself, do you have a nagging feeling that you're letting people down by often being unavailable? Do you know when your people need support? And do all the people in your team have the opportunity to speak to you about important things? And that is even the quiet ones who might not speak up so much. So depending on the answers to these questions, you might need to develop some strategies to clear some time. And I've got some simple and common strategies in this related article as well, which is called Too Busy at Work, Try These 5 Things. So you can check that out on the show notes page as well. And while you're there on the show notes page, be sure to check out my leadership coaching page if you think leadership coaching, that one-on-one support might be good for you. A lot of leaders come to me to work with me on specific goals, or they want to improve some area of their work, or they want to get a promotion, or they've got some challenges they want to resolve. Other people use me as a sort of sounding board where they sense check ideas with me and I help them think differently about their situation. So if you think that might be valuable, check out my leadership coaching page. It's on the show notes, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/308, and get in touch and book your free chat, and we can just chat about whether coaching might work for you and what it might look like for you as well. So look forward to hearing from you. Now, the third thing I suggest to support your employees is by encouraging open communication. So being available is one part of the equation. And I've worked with a few leaders who say they have an open door policy. And the problem is the employees don't want to go in that door because they're scared or they think the leader just won't listen to them. So open communication is a must when it comes to supporting your employees. They need to feel safe coming to you with challenges rather than keeping it all to themselves. And this starts with encouraging your people to learn from mistakes, identifying what to do better next time. So you can open up about some of the mistakes you've made in your career. Showing vulnerability can help to create open communication, and it can be a really good way to build trust as well. And you need to have, I'd suggest, one-to-one meetings with each of your people as well. And there's no ifs or buts here. I think one-to-one meetings are a really important thing to be doing with people. So I believe that if you can't afford to meet with your people one-on-one on a regular basis, then you're either too busy or you have too many people reporting to you. So how regular is regular? Well, I prefer every 2 weeks at least, booked in the calendar in advance. And this means they always have a chance locked in to speak with you, even if it can't be right at this instant. And for some ideas on how to make your one-to-one meetings better, you can go all the way back to episode 130 of this podcast. Check that episode out. Hopefully that will help you too. Okay, the last thing to remember, I think, to help support your employees is one that may not be so intuitive, and it is support your employees by holding them accountable. Now, you might not expect this in an episode about supporting your employees, but it's all about balance. Supporting people without holding them accountable is a bit of a one-sided affair that may result in a team that relies on leadership too much, which can stifle their own growth and development. So I think in order to support your employees effectively, I believe you also need to be holding them accountable. This means setting goals in collaboration with employees, providing oversight to monitor progress, and to be there to course correct along the way. And it also means supporting them to develop their own plans about where they want to go. This includes short and long-term career direction and development planning, encouraging them to pay attention to where they're going and to spend time on getting there, as well as on the actual work they do. And it's important to remember that the career plan and career direction, they need to play a part in that. And you can't just tell them what they should do. They need to come to the party and tell you what they think they'd like to do with their career. So this is where the accountability sits with them. So you want to support your people in being proactive and effective, and you do this by adopting a balanced approach of help and accountability. So supporting your employees using these 4 principles is fairly simple, but it's not easy. It's not rocket science, as with many things in leadership, but it does require attention and continuous effort. So you'll need to adapt your approach to each team member and to their situation. And this means you need to have the self-awareness and understanding of your people to realize how your team are responding to the way you lead them. So if you focus on those 4 aspects, you shouldn't go far wrong. Now, just so as a bit of a recap, those 4 aspects were getting to know them individually, being available to support your people, so you're not in back-to-back meetings all day and uncontactable, for example. Also encouraging open communication, and that includes one-on-ones and good things like that. And then supporting your people by holding them accountable as well. So it's not all about one-sided, just supporting them and helping. It's also about making sure they're playing their part as well. So I'm interested in your ideas on this one. What would you add to this list? Those are 4 things I like to remember, but what do you like to remember to hold your people or to support your people and make sure they're doing better in your team as well? So leave a comment on the show notes page or in your Spotify app, whatever you want to do. I'd love to hear from you and see what you think about this particular topic. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure as always. If you like this episode or the podcast in general, please leave a positive review on your app of choice. It helps me get the word out and get other people connecting to Thoughtful Leader Podcast. Okay, I will be back next week.